Katie. Now this is something what's we're going to get right today. Now this has been filmed before with another celebrity YouTuber. A load of nonsense for the next 20 minutes. Unless you want to hear a bit of nonsense and TE, you're quite welcome to listen, but I might edit it out. You know. So if I had a narrow gauge one day, TE tower. TE here, I told you at the very beginning of the video, TE would find something in the bushes, and we're only what, 5 minutes into this video. Wow, what? Didn't see it, eh? Me, Thomas Edward. I'm just waiting for a train, but I don't think it's turning up. There's a guy on a kabooter there, but I don't think there's a train going to turn up today. And behind me, I'm at Haigh, and this is, behind camera, this is Haigh Railway. We're going to walk it today. I think it's a mile long line, but we're going to walk it and see where the landslide is and have a look at what else it has to offer and what we can find in the bushes, because you know me, Thomas Edward loves to go and delve in the bushes to find something interesting, some old wrought iron or some engine or something. You know, you never know what you find once you start poking around. So yeah, but I was here about 2013, 14 at a car show up there at the actual hall, but when we go up there I'll tell you a bit more about that later. So I've been here before and I have ridden on this. There is some footage, but we'll get into that later. Let's go and have a look what we can find first. So I'm stood on the station here. Behind camera there's a water tower up there with a little wooden like hook round it, keep it warm, stop it freezing up. Obviously it's missing its pipe at the moment because the railway's not running. Stop scallywags messing about with it, but it's a proper nice little working railway this. And then it's a low platform. Now it's got no height to it because obviously the coaches on this line are quite low slung, so you don't need high platforms. And it's got all your seats you can sit on. It's all at the moment it's a bit waterlogged at the moment, and lots of autumn leaves are on it at the moment. So it needs a bit of track clearance. We need to come down with a works train and a load of high-vis men like we are today to clear it all off. That would be all that would, wouldn't it? TE on a works train, clearing it all off now with some brush cutters. That would be all that would. But down here, you probably just see it's poking for the trees. There's a narrow gauge engine shed and coaches. No, like a carriage shed. Some here, we were looking at it before we started filming. There's a bit of point gear here. We were trying to read the name on there, but we can't read it because it looks like it's off a proper standard gauge railway, and you've made it to fit a narrow gauge, but we couldn't read what was on it, so I don't know what region it's from or anywhere. Well, it could have been specially made for the narrow gauge, and it could have come off another narrow gauge somewhere else, so we don't know. We couldn't really read it. It needs cleaning back. That some guy will probably tell us, oh, it's from such a place, you know. It'll come back, that will. So comment below if you know what that is. And up here they've got a few ballast bags. Down here, I've done a mooch before, and it looks like they've laid track, because there's all new track spikes all in, and like little chairs, but they're not. They're just like aluminium plates to keep the flat rail in place. But they've had a bit of work in. I don't think this is to do with the landslide. I think the old track was probably a bit tired. There is a lot of water about, so it could have been washed out in a load of big weather, but I think it's just worn out, and they've spent a bit of money and got it all relayed around this part. New sleepers everywhere. So they're spending a bit of money. It's a volunteer group what keep this going. It used to be run by council of Wigan, but they let it go into disrepair, I think, in 2000s, and then there was like a trust or a volunteer, like club, you know, kind of thing. What come and keep it going and keep the engines going and keep money coming. And what's the most important thing? Cash is king to keep any railway going. But they have to scrimp in certain places because it doesn't have steam on it anymore. It's just a diesel engine. I think it's an Allen and Keith engine, and it's very similar, if you have ever been to Pavilion Gardens in Buxton. They have a very similar engine, where I think it has a Transit engine or a Land Rover engine in, and it even has a Land Rover mirror in it, and it goes like stink. It's really fast. But that isn't a 15-inch, that's a 12-inch at Buxton. It's a bit smaller than this, where this is a bigger gauge. If you've watched recently, there might be something up here of Fleetwood, a little drop-down tab here, so you can go and watch that. I go and look at and lost 15-inch gauge, what hasn't been there since the early 80s. And pretty much this, what we're seeing here behind me, is what Fleetwood would look like, this gauge of track. Go and check that out maybe before you watch this, so you can look at some other local lost narrow gauge railway tracks before you watch this one. Or watch this one first and then go and watch that one, depends what you do. But behind here I've just spotted something what looks quite interesting. There's some old chassis over here. It's pretty cool, rocking the TE boat this is. Oh. This one here, this is like it could have had a tipper wagon on that, or it could be a little well wagon. Yes, that's pretty cool. And then over here, there's another chassis there. That could have been an engine one actually. Looks like a ladder chassis. Could have had a little diesel on that. Some really solid buffers in it. Big cast iron buffers. It could have been an engine, it could have been another tipper. But it's a proper little ladder chassis, that is. You can see where it's had something mounted on it. So it could have been a tipper, it could have had a motor on it. And here, there's two ends that have been cut off with the old buffer beams on them. And I think these are part of this. And you can see these foot plates on it, these silver foot plates. It's been a carriage, this has, you know, to carry passengers. And it's got this big thing in the middle, what's something to do with the brakes. And it looks like that's like a vacuum cylinder, that. But I don't think it is a vacuum, because it has this bit here. It has a little air tank on it. So I think this is something what they call a triple valve, and I think it's an air brake system rather than a vacuum system. I'm not too up on them, but that's the TE theory what this is. But obviously it either went really rusty, or something was wrong on it, or it had a crash and you've just left it here. But it's languishing, you know, TE here. I told you at the very beginning of the video, TE would find something in the bushes, and we're only, what, 5 minutes into this video and I've already found something what's languishing. You know, it's gotta love a TE video, you know. Well, pretty cool, that is. I think that's a release valve, that. It's like an overrider release. Obviously it's got a hole in the top, it would have been connected or up to brakes probably on top of that. But it's got blue on it, so that's probably saying it's air rather than vacuum. And you can see big cylinder in there, big piston in there. But this would have been all covered up by the body where you sit. This would have been underneath. But it's quite advanced bit of a braking system on a narrow gauge. It's quite high tech really. I bet they've got big, you know. So when I came here last, I think there was 4 carriages, maybe 5 carriages of train, and it'd be all air brakes like this. So they got this is buffer beam, and you can that's for your air there. That pipe there is probably for your air. What will come up here and it curl up on a big sort of pipe here with your little fitment on, what will connect up to your other coach, you know, so the air would go right through the system. And then this is your buffer beam, you know, and your buffers be on here, and your little sprung buffers there. There's a bit of cable here. Oh, there's your air. So this, no, it's solid up the back. Maybe this would have gone through there originally, unless that was when it was vacuum. But now they put it had air on, so this would be up here. It would be on there with, you know, and it would have its thing. Ravenglass Nestor Rail, if you go and look at them, they're very similar. And it connects there, and then the other end, what will connect there, will go into the next carriage. That's pretty cool. So it's still got, so this pipe when this was still connected to this chassis, it would run to there, and that air in that tank would go through there. But it's not. It doesn't come through there. It runs around the edge. We're going to go and try and walk the land. I haven't got the best shoes on for it. The cameraman's got better shoes than I have today, because it was last minute power cut. I just grabbed the nearest shoes I could find. So I've come in. He's coming proper real deal walking shoes. Cameraman's no slouch, you know. But T is here coming in his dealer boots. But we'll try and walk it without getting wet feet. We'll have a look. I think there's another station somewhere, but I remember there's some sidings in the trees with like lumber trains and stuff. It's quite a cool working little railway, this. So we'll try and walk it best we can, see what we can find. Because you never know, T, what you might find, as you just proved back there with those chassis. So let's go and see what we can do. That doggy's going, oh, that's Thomas Edward there. We come to a little bit of a crossing here for you know, groundsmen, for the little cabooters and little John Deere. They got a little John Deere gator, come up and down here, get across. Or walkers use it. Quite low, isn't it, that, somewhere? Can't see it. But you can tell it's... no idea what that is. It's in all that cloud up there. You can tell there's some normal actions going again, so we're hearing planes again. When we were doing videos a few months ago, there's hardly any planes in the sky. So it's you're hearing planes again now. What's it's a good sign, isn't it? Till you can get back abroad now. Yeah, look, those are sleepers really rotten out on this. Needs a proper good track laying adventure. A few men in with big bars and those things what you pick lines up with. Those, you know, like they like a big spanner, but you do them like that or like that, and you can pick long lengths of rail up with it. Mark would tell you that. Mark Waterman, who's not related to Pete Waterman, would tell you about track laying because he did it when he was a younger guy around Manchester, I think. Oh, there's another crossing here with a sign. Does this say stop, look and listen? A classic sort of vinyl printed sticker on it with a little steam engine sign to tell you that there's an engine could be running past here and you might get knocked down. And the crossing actually goes into a tree. That's the last time that was used. There you are, it's good length this. Look, it's going right up there and then you can just see it goes around the curve. So if I had a narrow gauge one day, TE Towers, I'd have it 15 inch, I think, because it's a good working gauge for doing freight and passenger. And I think I'd have, because I like the big cabs on them. I like a warm cab. Don't want my head getting cold. I'd have a big American engine, just because they've got big wide cabs on them and you can have quite a wide loco on quite a narrow bit of track. And I would have a couple of English engines, but I would have more of an American engine because I like them, they look quite cool. I like some American stuff, rocks my boat. Oh dear. It's all overgrown and it looks like they've been trying to dig it out, but it keeps growing back and back. And it's all flood locked. But on here, there's another big concrete section here. This must be a platform again. This must be a station. Yeah. I think it's actually looking behind us. There's a sign behind camera. Well, it says it's Walker Gardens. There's a gardens over there. So this must be Walker Gardens station. Right, so I've come back to Haigh now 15-inch narrow gauge railway, and it's a whole new year. It's 2022. And I've come in me Christmas pulsar pants, so I've got the full high vis now of Thomas Edward, and it's a bit cold today, so I've got my hat and my gloves on. But I've come back because I've got some new information. Well, we sort of knew roughly when we did the other one, but we didn't know the full details, so I've had to go on home and do a bit of digging. about the actual engines what ran on this line. So we're going to actually walk round to the shed and tell you where they were kept and stuff, so it's a bit more fitting than where we are. But I thought I'd start the video here on this curve at the walled garden. It's the walled garden where you can't have any ball games in there. It's only for sunbathing and relaxing apparently. We come here to this station and to see if there's any digging or maintenance been happening, because it's early, it's late January now, early February nearly, and from the evidence here, it's still very much overgrown and they haven't been out yet. So, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They might be here in March, in spring, getting it scrubbed up, ready for summer. So, but at the moment, it doesn't look to be any activity. We'll get back to engine shed. Here it is. I've been looking for it. Well, last time I came, I missed this. I walked past it like a silly fool I am. So this here says Stand the Man, 1983, all welded on this plate. He's got a nice fancy line there underneath. And Stand the Man is one of the men who laid this track. And obviously, this line opened in 1986. But obviously they must have started in 1983, so it took them 3 years to lay it. But these men were only the track men, they only laid the track and did all the sleepers and everything else, and probably did the shed. But the actual line was built and also probably designed by Gil Swift, who was a director on the Wigan Council, and he was head of leisure. Because this park at the Hall, at Haigh Hall, was turned into a massive leisure complex. Well, that was the original idea, with a zoo and obviously a railway and lots of activities. So these men here, Stan the Man and these other two pals, laid it, and then Gil Swift designed it and built it, probably put the money out the council into it to say, right, let's do that. But also, we come here today, and we'll maybe walk round the front. What was kept in these very walls of this very, very long shed, well, it's probably about 50 foot long. It's a biggie, probably even bigger. What was kept in these walls was an interesting engine, but I'll tell you more when I get round front. So this shed here, it's a three-road shed. Obviously that one's discontinued now, so it's probably only a two-road shed. They've done a lot of work here recently. New sleepers have been put in and probably a bit of new track here and there. I think a lot of this was washed out as we looked when we were originally here last year. And here it's got a corrugated roof on it, and it's got some old big mainline sleepers as upright supports and some metal doors and a little door there. You always have to have one of these little doors, so you go in and then you open it from inside. It reminds me of my dad's old workshop, that. And then it's concrete base on bottom, and it's probably got a couple of ash pits somewhere, but ash pits were probably out here originally. But having said that, ash pits and dropping your fire doesn't happen in these walls anymore. They have a diesel engine in here now. What's a bit like a local I'm going to show you soon at the Buxton Pavilion Gardens narrow gauge. What's a 12-inch rather than a 15. It's I think, is it an Allen Keith engine? And I think they're powered by a banana, or the Buxton one. The Buxton engine's powered by a Ford Transit banana engine. I don't know if this has a banana in it, but it's a similar engine, but 15-inch. But originally, in these very walls here, in 1986 when it opened, it had steam, and TE loves 15-inch steam being brought up along the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, the Lau Ratty. You can't beat steam on this kind of gauge of railway. It's just a great working gauge for a bit of steam and a bit of steam haulage, because me and cameraman were just walking down there thinking, wow, if we had this in our garden, we'd be loading it up with wood, and it'd be pretty cool, that would. Anyway, we're digressing. So in here they had steam, and they had a loco called Katie. Now this is something we're going to get right today. Now this has been filmed before with another celebrity YouTuber. I won't say names, but he talks about the engine. and he thought it was another engine and the name's changed. So I'm your man today. There's going to be a polymath of information, tell you why it isn't the same engine. It's two different engines he talked about, but only one ever was here. The other one never came here. It was, I'm going to tell you pretty much. So pretty much, the loco what was in here in 1986 was an engine called Katie, and it was a 242. The wheel arrangement on it. It was made by Guest Engineering, who were in Stourbridge, West Midlands, and when it came here it was renamed Haigh, and it lasted here to 93, and then it went into storage, and then it got sold off. Now Katie has an exact sister engine called Shan, and Shan was built about 10 years after Katie was built. So Katie was built in 1954 for Dudley Zoo, and then it went, I think it went to the Fairborn after that, and then it came here. But at the same time, Shan, who was built, well, 10 years after Shan was built in 63, but in 64 it went to the Fairborn Railway as well. And it's the same looking engine as Katie, same 242, but it's called Shan, same looking engine. And this is the confusion, is Katie and Shan, later on in life, after Katie left here and Shan left here, both sort of had involvement and sort of stabled sort of place at, one of them still there actually, at Windmill Farm. And this is where the confusion was. These two engines were both in the same sort of railways, sort of the same times almost, but different sort of years, but they were there. And people saw it, oh, it's Shan, and then they saw probably, oh, it's Katie, and then they went home and went, oh, it's the same engine, you know, because they saw them, and you know, it's like if you bought same coloured car as me and you parked in the same car park, and when someone went the next day, they go, oh, you were there the other day. I said, it wasn't me, it was him, he's got the same car. So it's pretty much like that. And the confusion is they looked at both engines and, oh, they're the same engine. What they also confused, and when Katie was here, she was renamed, and that probably confused it as well, you know. But Shan, you can't really confuse Shan, because Shan for a period was made into like a wood-burning steam, American steam loco with a balloon stack. And you know, a big cabin, and it was painted silver and black, a bit like 7 Lamb locos I did in my Fleetwood video. But it was painted like that, but steam, proper steam. So you can't actually mix them up, because Katie never got like messed around too much like that, like Shan did. But they're totally different engines and 10 years apart from each other. You know, Katie's really old, 1954, and Shan's early 60s. So they're probably different era engines. But there was only ever one engine here, and that was, you know, it was Katie, steam, built by Guest Engineering, and it was Shan was never here. Shan never had nothing to do with this railway. Shan just sort of mingled in the same circles as Katie, and that's where the mix-up is. But we'll try and get some footage and stuff, what I'll probably insert over this thing I've just said about him, and some pictures of Katie and maybe a bit of Shan, so I'll tell you the difference, and you know, when Shan went into an American livery, so you can see that. And that was pretty much it. But now they have an Allen and Keith loco, what's a diesel, with some quite big coaches here. I've got some footage somewhere what T has to dig out from an old hard drive. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it's a big long station on a big tight radius of a curve, big right-hander. And you'll be back, and I reckon that will come back down to that junction we were down there, where we were saying, do we go left or do we go right? But I think we'll get down there and we'll pick back up somewhere else and see what else we can see. Maybe we should go and have a look down at this pond. Let's have a bit of deviance and come down off the line and have a look, because there's a lower bench down here. Oh, duckies. Oh, coming to see if T's got some grub. I haven't, unfortunately. Look, they know, look, they see me high vis and a person, oh look, he's got food. I haven't. No food here. There's a little bridge here. That's pretty cool, this. This could be like a boating pool in Scarborough. Bit bigger than this, a lot bigger than this. They have a big pond. And they have guys who lie down in military boats, like, you know, navy boats. They lie down in them. And they have war battles, not with real bullets or anything and explosions, but they have all this smoke, and they have planes that come over, and they have this guy sat on this little pontoon with his guitar. He warms the audience up, and then he talks about all the boats coming in, and they actually, I think they sink a boat as well. And a bit of bread in my pocket. Now, T has a good load of pockets full of stuff what you won't believe what I've got in my pockets, like balls and torches and tape measures, what I'll come on to later actually, that'll give me an idea, and other bits and bobs, but I've got no nibbles in me, so I can't feed the bread, well, feed the ducks with the bread at the moment, and that's looking up that river what we looked up before, and there's another waterfall up the top. Okay, a really good, I think they're called a Trexus power boat. I'd love one of them. They're about 500 quid, some are grand, and they're like, what, they're like this big, and they're really quick, but this may be a bit, it might get tangled up in the weeds here. Maybe we'd get something like a nice tugboat, or you can get a fishing boat with a 2-mile range, and we could put a little GoPro on it, and we could come back here and sail it up from that pond underneath this bridge up there, and you could have a bird's eye view from the front of a little fishing boat with a guy with a pipe on it. We're back on line. We're going to go that way. We'll come from that way, from Walker's Gardens up there. So we're going to go this way, and I think we'll turn camera back on when we find something interesting. Otherwise, it's just going to be me talking a load of nonsense for the next 20 minutes. Unless you want to hear a bit of nonsense and tea, you're quite welcome to listen. But I might edit it out, you know, because sometimes you just need a bit of nonsense, but loaded information as well. Just had a chat with a nice man behind camera there about the railway. He was a local guy walking his dog. And there's a whistle board here. It was a good stop actually, because we wanted to film this. We just had a good chin wag, as you do. You know, nice people around Wigan. They do a good job. So we whistle board, and he just said, oh, there's a crossing round the corner. So it was obviously a crossing, and he just said the landslide's round the corner, but they've repaired it. It's not because that's why we mainly come today, to see the landslides. So that's a whistle board. So you got a whistle on your train, and your steam engine or diesel, but it is diesel now. Oh yeah, this is this tarmac road what goes up to the hall. Oh, it's a proper crossing, this is. Oh yeah, and then over there, just through the trees there, that's the little loops of the little, I don't know if it's a 10, I think it's a lot smaller than a 10-inch gauge. I think it's a 5-inch gauge, something like that in those trees. There's a Wigan Modelling Engineers group, something like that, if I remember rightly. And they don't have engines or carriages on site. They turn up on the cars, load them on, and have some running days. And that's another, I think, another place that goes like stink. You know, they were really fast. I remember going there. I think I got some footage of that somewhere. What I'll have to dig out for you on my hard drive. Maybe around here we should get see what's in the tea pocket. And see, is it proper 15-inch gauge? Like we keep saying, it's a 15-inch. It's a 5 metre, 16-foot long tape measure. Not sponsored by Milwaukee, you might add. Even though T's quite fascinated with Milwaukee at the moment. I'm after a few other things I want to buy first. I'm after a half-inch Milwaukee impact wrench for doing car work. You can get a nut-busting torque one that does about 1800 newton meters of torque. That's a massive one. But I'm going to get one that's about 800 newton meters of torque at some point when I get round to it. But we'll get where's 15? So there's There's 15 inch there. Now on as you, there's 15 inch. That's 15 inch. Now as you might have, people who watch the Fleetwood would know this, but the new people watching this video, when you measure the gauge of a track, you measure the inner edge, there and there. That's where you measure from, and that's the inch in the middle. You don't measure from the outside, you measure from in the middle. So we get that there. Oh yeah, look, there you go. Even on this curve here, that's exactly 15 inch. So no, it's a real deal. It hasn't spread any, and no one's like built in. Oh, that will do, and it isn't 15 inch. So that's it's a real deal. So it's so you can any engine from Ravenglass Nestow Railway, Bromley Hive and Dymchurch, Kirklees is 15 inch. You can bring engines from any of those railways here as a visiting locomotive, long word. You come here and you can run them. And little Jenny runs it, and you charge into the snow with the engine with this thing contraption on the front. And as it goes into the snow, this blade spins and all the snow goes in it and sucks out and goes out this little exhaust. So there's a little navigation that runs that. There's a bit of footage online, but I was just walking underneath there. There's actually trees falling though. Maybe that came down in the recent storms. What's cut off the TE power household, you know. That's why I'm in a hotel. So yeah, it is be great when winter running. Oh yeah, got some debris here. Look.